Hey there. Today is all about 5 tips to be visible. That is what our focus is, and that's where we're going to start. I want you to think specifically about what happens for you, whether you are in front of clients or whether you're in a meeting, and what happens for you as far as when you want to speak up. Do you hold back? Are you speaking up? Are you showing up? Are people recognizing you? Do they realize that you exist? And I know that that might sound a little bit strange to say, do they realize you exist? But a lot of times people aren't even aware, especially if we're in a large company or we are one of many people on a project. And the key here, what I want to help you do is show up so that you can be seen. And most importantly, that you have a seat at the table and you stop missing opportunities. Because too often what happens is if we are not around, then people don't think about us. And I want to give you a very specific example of this in my life. I posted not that long ago on LinkedIn and Instagram, frankly, about something related to my husband's kidney failure and the challenges that has been for the challenges that we faced as a result of that. And would you believe that not only did somebody immediately respond to that and said how much she related to the post, but we ended up having lunch together. She ended up being in the Bay Area. But here's what happened at that lunch that I found fascinating. As we started talking, I learned that she might be interested and need some of my coaching with my mastermind, which is called the Powerhouse. And the more we talked, the more it sounds like this might be a fit for her. What was fascinating, though, is what she told me later. She emailed me back and said, it was because of your post that I reached out. And I will tell you, she was very honest. She said, I probably wouldn't have thought about you otherwise. So this was a perfect example of me showing up, being seen, and making myself available. Now, there are bigger challenges that we might have to face within ourselves to even ask ourselves, are we comfortable being seen? When we're visible, we're not only seen, we will be more known, hopefully more understood as well, but sometimes that can cause anxiety for us. So, what I want to do is invite us into this conversation around tips on being visible so that we can advance our careers, advance our businesses, and have more confidence. I mean, who doesn't want that? So, first one is speak up at a meeting. Speak up, period. But I want to talk specifically about speaking up in a meeting. We're all in various meetings, different types, of course, and silence is your enemy when it comes to building visibility. When we don't say anything, how in the world would somebody even know the value that you bring? We have to get good at being able to communicate our value, and it starts from speaking up in the first place. So don't wait to be called on. Raise your hand, share your insights, and be the voice of your ideas. So remember, this is really important. Remember, the best ideas go unheard if left unspoken. And I want to remind you that you have great ideas to share. You've got things that are relevant. You have things that are actually world changing. And although that may feel too much or maybe too dramatic, it's true. We all have world changing ideas that oftentimes go unsaid. And so the first thing, although it might sound very basic, is to make sure that you're actually speaking up when you have those ideas. And too often what happens is we hold back. We get tongue-tied or we feel uncomfortable. We don't want to rock the boat. We are afraid of being judged. We want to look good. We don't want to look stupid. There's so many things that get in the way from actually speaking up. But there's such a payoff to speaking up. It's totally worth it. Now, every one of us has to make the judgment call for ourselves of the situation, the people that are in the room, our relationships with them. There are so many things that can challenge us. And yet, I have found in my work with many, many women over the years and in the results that I'm seeing in my clients is that the payoff of speaking up is much stronger than the payoff of staying silent. For example, I have a client who held back for many years, actually 10 years, and she expected the company would notice her. she hoped that with her good work and how hard she showed up, or how hard she worked, how much she showed up, and the good job that she did, she expected that they would notice her. And this I see a lot with women. Now, she hired me to help her craft a plan and create more confidence in her to be able to speak up and ask for a promotion. So, specifically, speaking up was key for her. And what happened is she identified a need within the company that she could fill based on her experience. She brought it to the table. We worked on her plan together. We created the best strategy to make sure it was relevant to the company, relevant to the boss that she was specifically delivering the message to, created a great case for herself. And do you know that she got it? We worked together only 3 months, and she got that because she spoke up. This was huge. The second tip is to speak first. You know that moment when you're in a meeting or a meeting is starting and the lead facilitator, whoever, says, "Hey, who wants to kick it off?" or "Who wants to start first?" Most people don't say anything. There's there's usually a few moments of silence where nobody says anything. So it's total crickets. That is the time to capitalize and leverage your voice. Say something up front, because here's the thing. If you don't, number one, you'll probably be thinking the whole meeting, "I want to say this," or "I wish I had said this." And then your mind's going to be consumed with the thoughts about yourself of why you did or didn't say something. Well, in this case, you didn't say something. Or you're going to have multiple people, or even if it's just one other person that says the same thing that you wanted to say, you lose the opportunity, because then you're just going to sound like you're piling on, and maybe you could say to add to that or something, but it's not as easy to do it after the fact. And the other thing is how important it is to be heard right from the beginning, so that you can come across in a way that immediately showcases your value. People immediately hear you. And most people, especially, well, just in general, most people are around at the beginning part of meetings. Now, it all depends on your culture and all of that. But a lot of times people end up leaving midway or later. So those people that weren't there, or excuse me, if you wait until later, the most important people may not hear you either. Now, you could make a case for that either way, but the most important thing that I want to say here is that when you speak first, you get that idea out there, you communicate your value. And the other thing is, you don't have to sit with the anxiety that you might be having the rest of the meeting, judging yourself for not saying anything when you had an idea. So speak first. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to show your face on video. Turn on your camera during virtual meetings. My goodness. Smiling faces are memorable. Faces in general are memorable. People are able to see you, and nonverbal cues add so much impact to your actual words. I want to give you an example of another client. Specifically, the company hired me to help this woman to have more confidence, senior director engineer. And what was interesting to me is that my client, specifically the woman I was coaching, told me that she wanted a promotion and that there was an opportunity. It was more of a lateral move, but let's just say it would have been great for her because she was in the same job for many, many years. Well, she said to me, "Okay, so I want to do everything I can." And so I helped her as much as I could. But meanwhile, I talked to her boss and I asked her boss, "So what would you suggest?" And, just talk to her boss a little bit more about what the opportunity was. And she said, "Well, I have to tell you, Karen, I talked to the boss or the new boss that might be promoting her, or has the power to promote her, has the open position to promote her or to move her." And this new potential boss said, "Here's the thing. She doesn't turn her camera on and she doesn't say anything in meetings. So how can I possibly assess whether she is the right fit or not?" So this was such a powerful example. And I remember talking to the client about that. And she said, "Do you mean to tell me that I have to show my face and say things just to show that I have ideas? And I said, yes. I mean, if you want to get the lateral move, if you want to get promoted, whatever insert the blank is, whatever you want. The problem is when we have no visual opportunity to see somebody, let alone vocal opportunity. So imagine, you know how it is. Every one of anybody listening to this, you are on calls probably pretty regularly. And when you're on calls where all you see is the person's name, you have no way of engaging. You don't actually know if they're even there. You know that their name is up on the screen in a Brady Bunch box, but you have no idea if they're actually listening. So this one, I cannot emphasize this enough. We have so much opportunity when we show up. And then remembering when you show up to have some great facial expressions. Look directly at the webcam. So when you are speaking and even when you're listening, that it shows you're actually engaging. You don't want to be looking at yourself or the bottom of the screen, maybe because that's where the other person's talking. But what you want to be doing is looking right at that webcam, or usually it's about an inch and a half below that for that sweet spot, depending upon your computer setup. I have a MacBook Air, so for me, it's about an inch below. Otherwise, it would look like I'm looking over people's heads. So these are really important things to remember. We've got to show our face. Many women hold back due to self-doubt, people pleasing, not wanting to rock the boat, fear of being judged, not wanting to say anything that would make them unpopular. There's so many different reasons why we hold back. And this is a problem. I did it far too long, and I don't want anybody to be held back from being their true and authentic self because we're missing opportunities and we leave money on the table. And if you relate to any of this, I would love to talk to you to see if it's a fit for you to join the Powerhouse. It is my mastermind community that helps women get promoted, move to that next level in their career in general, lead with authority, get better at public speaking, as well as negotiating. It all depends what you're trying to do, but it's ultimately about how to ditch that doubt and catapult your career with an incredibly supportive group of women, as well as individual coaching. If that even sounds remotely interesting, I would love to talk to you more about it and see if the Powerhouse is right for you. You can jump into the show notes and you'll see a link there where you can schedule a clarity call with me to see if it makes sense. Imagine if you went to lunch with somebody in person and you had a cardboard cutout of your face that you held in front of your face the entire lunch. That's how it feels when people don't show their face on Zoom. Now, I recognize that there are times when you might be Zoom exhausted, the Zoom fatigue is real. You might not feel comfortable eating what lunch, for example, in front of people. And there's a time and a place where you might want to turn off the camera, but come ready, come camera ready so that you can show your visibility and therefore not miss any opportunities. So that was number 3. Let's talk about number 4. Keep a celebration portfolio. A lot of time, this is something that I call it. Celebration portfolio is simply a list of accomplishments. It's really 2 things. It's a list of accomplishments that you write down of things that you have literally accomplished. What are the things that you have done? What are the results that you have created that you're proud of? But maybe there's even ones that you're not proud of, but you don't think about too often. But write down every time you accomplish something or reach a goal or meet a deadline. That is one component, and then I'm going to tell you why in a minute. The other one related to this, so again, under the umbrella of celebration portfolio, is to have a collection of all the cards or emails that people have written about you. Do screenshots, create an album in your phone for this. When we collect these beautiful words about us and we reflect on our accomplishments by simply stating them out loud, reading them to somebody that we care about or that cares about us, that helps to solidify the confidence, because the more action we take, the more measurable things we're able to see that we have actually done or that people have experienced in us from a character perspective. All of that helps to build our confidence, and It also helps with imposter syndrome because if you look at a list of accomplishments, maybe you're not feeling like you belong in the room or something, and you read your 10, 20, 30, 50, whatever accomplishments, you look at that and go, oh my gosh, this person who accomplished all these things, of course they deserve to be in that room, or they're meant to be at the head of the table, or this have a seat at the table. So, really important to remember that there is a direct connection to celebrating and acknowledging those accomplishments and confidence. It's also really helpful from a visibility perspective because when you do that and you can present that to your boss, that is brilliant. Because I don't know about you, but I've managed a lot of people in my life. And at a time, there were several people that I couldn't keep track of all of their day in and day out schedule things and what they were like individually daily responsible for. Of course, I had big picture, but if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Karen, I want to celebrate this win," or let's say whether it's especially helpful at review time, but it's really good during your one-on-ones to bring that to your boss and say, "Hey, I want to celebrate this." For example, if I were your boss, I might not even remember that thing, but you highlighting it will bring it back to my memory bank and go, oh my gosh, you're right. Wow. Look at all those cool things that you've done this year or that you did in the last quarter. So that's a great tool to have at the ready for your boss. And I will tell you, when I specifically, this is a story from my past, when I was interviewing for my job at Decker Communications, I brought a literal portfolio. I had one of those you get at Walgreens or CVS with the plastic sleeves in the inside. And I had collected all these cards and letters that people had written about me. I even had some of my past performance reviews in there. And I didn't expect her to look through the whole thing. But toward the end of the interview, I said, would you like to look at my celebration portfolio? And she said, sure. And she glanced through it and said, oh my gosh. And it is such a value add. When you have the opportunity to do that in person and bring something physical, that is really cool, really impressive for an interview or in your job at work. It's really great to simply have that list. So try that out and see how that works. Our fifth tip today is to share a valuable tip. You've got great ideas, but a lot of them stay inside of you and the world doesn't get to experience them. So if you have a great tip or a strategy that you want to share with somebody, share it on social media. Write an article on LinkedIn. If you have a company intranet, see if you can be a guest in the newsletter or be on a podcast episode. Go out there and ask certain people related to the expertise that you have, if you could be a guest on their podcast and what value you could bring to them. Because that's not only going to amplify your visibility, but it's going to showcase your thought leadership. And automatically, as a result of that, you're going to attract new opportunities. Because if there is one thing that I have learned in life, although there's been many things, showing up consistently and adding value when I show up simply by being, sometimes it's literally just showing up and being interested in people. Sometimes it is not, here's all these amazing things I did, but it's showing up. It's caring. It's asking questions, being curious about people around you. Those are all very critical skills to leadership and getting those opportunities because everybody wants to work with somebody that they like and that's fun to be around, where there's joy. So if you can bring more of that to your interactions with people, that's going to create these great opportunities. So let's review the 5 things. Speak up, speak first, show your face on camera in virtual meetings, have a celebration portfolio, which is a list of your accomplishments, and share a valuable tip or a valuable strategy in public. And writing is even better, or a podcast interview, or for those of you that really want to go to that next level, pitch a news anchor. If you have a great idea, another thing is apply to be a TEDx speaker. There's so many TEDx events. I'm a TEDx coach, speaker coach, and there are so many TEDx events that you could apply to. And honestly, the act of actual, I shouldn't say just because it's not just, but The act of actually applying can give you so much clarity and can help you solidify that idea even more because most applications require a video and a written blurb around what your idea is and why it is a worthy idea that's worth spreading. So, once again, get out there, be visible. And by the way, if you are a leader who wants to ditch your doubt, catapult your career, and work on some of these things that we've talked about today so that you can get that promotion or get more business if you are an entrepreneur, please reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I have a mastermind called the Powerhouse, and it is all about inviting women into a space where we can support each other. So it's a mastermind combined with individual coaching, and I'd love to see if it's a fit for you. So, oh, one other thing. I also have a free download called 9 Words to Avoid and What to Say Instead. So if that's something that you would like to download, you can go to my website and do that for free and get some tips on specifically what do you want to say instead of avoiding some of those words and phrases. So until next time, I'm Karen Laos. Peace out. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.